afternoon, sports fans. What's going on, y'all? My bad. I just had to let the intro drag in a little bit longer because it's so groovy, baby. Oh, yes, it is. I'm loving it. Oh, yes. Hopefully you're rock and roll, y'all. It has been a hell of a week so far here on IE Sports Radio. And when in the hell did that word become a word? I was reading a damn article the other day. Helluava. When in the hell did that become a word? That freaking word? Are you serious? I just say hell of, but I didn't know hell of was a word. Anyway, y'all, what's going on? It's me, your boy Larry B, jumping on in here today. The time is 12 p.m. Pacific time on the West Coast, 3 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. over there on the East Coast. And wherever you're listening from, we appreciate y'all. We are kicking off. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 shows today. This is show number 1 of all 4 of those, and we're coming at you. Here we go, y'all. Show number 1 today. Here on The Defining Moment, we will be introducing, for his first time, and hopefully many, many more times to come, we will be talking exclusively to the founder of the American Cornhole Organization. That's right, Al. I said it. Cornhole. Just when you thought the sports world was as vast as you can possibly get it, well, it got even more vast. Don't judge. Trust me. When you hear about today's show, you might just be a fan yourself. You'll see. With that said, we're bringing on Mr. Frank Geers today to talk about his league, how it all began, and its history, as well as where it's going. I'm interested. I hope you are too. This is going to be a fun show. Also, coming up today, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. on the East Coast. You already know. Get ready for an hour of power, y'all. That's right, I said it. Miss Caitlin Seam will be taking on over the IE Sports Radio airwaves on Not What It Seems. She's got a whole lineup coming your way, and I hope you're ready. It's going to be a good one. All right. With that said, here we go on to our third show. We have On the Extra Mile today. Lots to get into with that show. Trust me, gonna be a fun one. NASCAR driver Blake Reynolds joining Mr. Darryl Kinsey Jr., Miss Caitlin Seam, and Mr. Michael Ward. And then, of course, we have here, moving on into the final show of the night, Bases Loaded. They'll be getting another StreamYard episode. It's going to be a good one, y'all. Also exclusive here on Spreaker. Gonna be a fun one, guys. So, let's get this thing going on here tonight. 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. on the East Coast. You love baseball? You know where to go. And also, by the way, how could I forget? I'm so sorry. We're also talking later on today. Well, Darryl and Caitlin and Michael are talking with former NASCAR driver Bill Lester. That's going to be pretty awesome as well. And as I mentioned, we're ending off the night with Brandon Buckingham and Blake Henley, H-Town Blake on Bases Loaded. Get ready for a whole bunch of baseball. Get ready for a whole loaded day of sports here on IE Sports Radio. Once again, you are tuned into The Defining Moment right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Welcome, y'all. I'll tell you, that it gets me every time, man. It gets me every time. I'm just grooving. Y'all know how it goes. With that said, what's going on, y'all? It has been a fun one. This last week for dang sure was a fun one, but it has been a fun last couple of weeks with all the awesome guests we have had. If you all go check my video today on YouTube, go check it out. What's new? What's next here at IE Sports Radio? Got a whole bunch of good stuff to get on into coming up. And be ready, y'all. That newsletter will be coming this weekend. Actually, probably next weekend because I'm slammed with schoolwork because school is about as evil as it gets. But it's all good, y'all. 4 classes away from that master's. You can call me Professor in a couple of months, y'all. Just saying. With that said, y'all, once again, this is me, your boy Larry B, bringing it in here live on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon, April 16th, 2020. And here with me today, glad to be sharing the mic with these cats here. Why? because they're awesome. One of them is our booking agent, who's been bringing on all these awesome people, including today, Mr. Frank Geers. And we have a familiar voice today. Well, I'm not saying Jonathan isn't familiar, but we have somebody who's been on for quite a long time here at IE Sports Radio. He is the Chief Operations Officer here at IE Sports Radio. Glad to have him here, Mr. Darryl Kinsey Jr. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll open up the floor to both of these guys. How's it going, y'all? We'll start with Darryl. How's it going, brother? How you been, man?
It's been going well. It's been a very interesting time around the NASCAR community, as we know. We thought Bubba Wallace getting dumped by a sponsor for rage quitting an esports race to be the biggest news of, this COVID-19 period, but that is no longer the case, obviously. Other than that, things are going well. Still trying to figure out, as well as both Larry and I are in this hell that is graduate school, and we're just trying to figure out what assignments still can and cannot feasibly get done at this point with just everything going on with COVID-19. We hope you guys are staying safe, washing your hands, and practicing social distancing, because we're starting to come down the hill ever so slightly.
Let's hope. I mean, really. And I just gotta say one thing, y'all. How dare me forget this? He is the hardest working man here at IE Sports Radio. I don't care what he's got to say. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Darryl Kinsey Jr. That's right, y'all. Once again, the COO of IE Sports Radio. And just before we go and take our break real quick, ladies and gentlemen, he is the man who's been bringing on everybody. Like, literally everybody. Like, everybody but a few people. What can I say? He has done amazing things here at IE Sports Radio, and I'm so glad to have him aboard. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome in the one, the only, Jonathan Couch Crew Chief. What's going on, man? How you doing today, brother?
Doing good. Thank you very much. Now that I'm one of the wonderful people that got furloughed or laid off, however you want to put it, I'm out there hitting the pavement, and if somebody has a PR rep, I'm after them. We're going to find more people to keep on bringing on, and we're going to keep entertaining everybody we can.
And you know what? I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think we have something great going. Gentlemen, this is just the beginning, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So, with that said, there's the introduction, and look at that. It's about that time. So, what we're going to do is take a quick break. When we get back, we will have live with us here for his first time, and hopefully first of many on IE Sports Radio, because I'm intrigued. I'm really excited to get into this. I don't know. Hopefully all of you are too. Like, seriously, listeners, get ready, because this is going to be an adventure. And I think it's going to maybe bring some more fans towards the sport that some of us may think is unorthodox. But once again, don't knock it till you try it. Trust me. All right, y'all. With that said, we're going to take ourselves a quick break. When we get back, we'll be talking with Mr. Frank Geers, founder of the American Cornhole Organization. You're listening to The Defining Moment right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Motorsports takes many forms, and there's one show on IE Sports Radio that's ready to cover it all.
I sure hope you're talking about you and I, Darryl, because I know the Extra Mile is the best place to go for everything motorsports related.
Yes, it is. From NASCAR to IndyCar to sports cars to everything in between, IE Sports Radio has everything covered for the fastest sport in the world.
Plus, don't forget all of our random shenanigans along the way.
That's right, Caitlin. So for plenty of motorsports coverage and plenty of Caitlinisms, check out the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio with Darryl Kinsey Jr. and Caitlin Seen, Thursdays at 8 p.m.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy awesome white tea. They are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Wrestling fans in the podcast world, you are in the right place to listen to the right show, the premier show in the professional wrestling podcasting world. This is Ring Rambling Radio, and you are listening to one of the co-hosts. I am Martin Sandoval, a.k.a. the SoCal Saint, along with my two co-hosts, the lovely Felicia and my boy Matt. Yes, every Saturday or every other Saturday morning, you can listen to us, the premier wrestling team, giving you the premier wrestling news, rumors, updates, event discussions, everything that has to do with professional wrestling. You're in the right place. IE Sports Radio presents Ring Rambling Radio. Don't miss it, because it's just too sweet.
Just as Martin says there at the end of the drop for Ring Rambling Radio, it's just too sweet, baby. Well, guess what? We're back on today with something else that you may also think is just too sweet by the end of this segment. Let's get on into it, ladies and gentlemen. We are officially now joined live with, by the founder of the American Cornhole Organization, the ACO. Go check them out at AmericanCornhole.com. That's where we found them, and trust me, you're going to love what you see. I'm telling you, you guys may think this is just a game to play in a parking lot before a game, okay? But guess what? It's a lot more competitive than you ever thought. And our thing today is we want to bring awareness to just how competitive this sport has really become. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, joining us here today for his first time, as I keep on saying, for his first time, but hopefully many, many more, get ready to give a warm welcome to founder of the American Cornhole Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming the one, the only, Mr. Frank Geers. How's it going, Mr. Frank?
Hey, gentlemen, how are you? Happy to be on board today. And no pun intended or pun intended with the board there.
Hey, good one. You know what, man? Honestly, this is good stuff, and I'm glad we're glad to have you here. All of us are here today. I'll tell you. Once again, some people may have just thought this was something to pass the time while you're barbecuing and tailgating for a football game, but well, guess what? Everybody who may have thought that, once again, this is a much more competitive sport than you think, and I'll tell you, I think everybody here today is going to really enjoy what they hear and hopefully really get into it. So with that said, let's go ahead and get things going. Once again, if you are just tuning in, we are live with Mr. Frank Geers, founder of the American Cornhole Organization. Once again, go check them out at AmericanCornhole.com. Awesome stuff. With that said, Jonathan, take us away, brother.
Yes, sir, Frank. How are you doing today? Well, you already said good. So first off, I just want to take and start by getting into the history here. I know you're 15 years in here, so I'm just curious, what brought you down the road? What was your inspiration to start the American Cornhole Organization?
Well, I mean, years back, I started a company called Harris Hawk. It was a marketing company, and I was always looking for unique ways to brand companies and promote businesses. And I happened to be at a football game. Unfortunately, it was a Cincinnati Bengal game, but it was, I guess, classified as a football game. But I was there, and I saw the tailgate parking lot, people playing this game of cornhole. And at the time, I really didn't know much about it. And I went over, grabbed a beer, threw a couple bags with somebody, and I was impressed with the concept of taking a board and putting logos on there of companies like Coca-Cola or Jim Beam or Domino's. So really, I got into the game of cornhole strictly from the marketing side. That's how I started, getting into the game of cornhole. So I went back, did a little more research on this game, ended up buying the domain name American Cornhole, and went out and found I went to about 6 factories at the time, back in 2005, around the Cincinnati market, took a concept of what I wanted the board to look like, finally got the prototype built out the way that we wanted it, then partnered with a furniture manufacturing company up in Minnesota, and the rest of the history with our boards. So we developed a board that was a high-end board set. Everybody was making their boards in their garages at the time. You could go pay $30-40 for the hardware that you needed to make and assemble a decent cornhole set and make it in your garage. Well, we ended up making a piece of furniture. Our set retailed from the beginning around $300, and most people thought we were crazy to come to the market with such a high-end product. But our vision was basically to create the best cornhole board on the planet, and convince companies like Coca-Cola to potentially put their logos on there and use it from a marketing standpoint. That's originally how we got started. But as soon as we went down that path, I started realizing and seeing people that were playing this game competitively, and we actually did an event. Our very first big event was this charity event that we did for Carson Palmer and of the Cincinnati Bengals, and we did that for a couple years, and that was a spectacular event for us and for Carson. He had originally done golf outings as a way to raise money for charities, but he came across this game of cornhole, connected with us because we were a Cincinnati-based operation, and that was an interesting an event that happened down at Paul Brown Stadium. It was actually where I first came across one of the great players of the game, Matt Guy. So that's kind of a little bit of history there.
It's absolutely amazing to me that it came just from a marketing standpoint, and absolutely the advertising on the boards, that's one of the things that I've noticed, is the advertising is big, bright. It's easy to see, and I absolutely love that about the ACO and your boards. They're beautiful boards, and I know they're a high-end product. Is that really what separates you from a lot of your competition?
It certainly was in the beginning the thing that separated us from the competition, and over the years, though, we pretty much are the leader in that category, and everybody our DNA is out there in pretty much every board and every bag that you see out there on the planet anymore. Some of the things that we brought to the game, early on years ago, we were the first company. I conceived the idea of putting plastic resin into the bags instead of corn. When we first did that, we got a lot of the industry to balk that was currently making bags and at the time, because they said, well, how can you call it cornhole when you're not putting corn in the bags? Well, there was a couple reasons we had switched over to the resin-filled concept of the bags. One of our clients was Carnival Cruise at the time, and they had bought bags and boards for all the cruise ships, which was another way that helps spread the word and love of cornhole across not only the United States but the world, because a lot of people go on cruises, in particular on Carnival Cruise. And but they asked us to come up with a better bag because of what was happening to the bags on the boat. I mean, the bags that were filled with corn were mildewing. The rodents and the bugs were eating them. So that was originally how the whole concept of putting a plastic pellet in the bags came to be. And then another part of the sport early on that separated us again as the leader to the industry was that we were the ones that conceived. I invented the whole concept of a two-sided bag. It was me that came up with the idea of using different fabrics to create different slides. Where one side of the bag would maybe be with a fabric that was stickier, which at the time we used a synthetic felt, or suede, and then the other side of the bag was more of a canvas or a brushed twill. And what that did was made the bag have a slide side and a stick side. So in turn, what that did is that elevated strategy to the game. It created more strategy to the game. And as far as the boards go, again, we wanted to make that standard board. So if you were playing cornhole in California or playing cornhole in Florida or Ohio or New York, and you were playing the sport of cornhole, you were playing on the high-end board, and it was standardized, just like you had in billiards or darts with the equipment that they had. Now, the beautiful thing about this game and this sport was that the entry level was very cheap for people to get involved with it, because people can make their own bags, can make their own boards, and get into the game of cornhole. The ACO didn't invent the game of cornhole. We've never laid claim to have invented the game of cornhole. The only thing the ACO did was we were the ones that created the sport of cornhole. We were the ones that made cornhole better for everybody. So I don't know if that gives you a little bit of answer to your question, but hopefully it does.
Absolutely. And basically, so you're the original sanctioning body of competitive American Cornhole. So when you were developing this, did you ever expect that it would become so, so specific? Because looking through the different rules, there are rules for the bags, rules for the boards, so that way it really is a level playing field for anybody involved, isn't it?
It is. There is one thing that kind of has changed in the game, and this was not something that we originally pushed for. Other groups in the industry kind of moved towards this. Players were, begging for it, and I'm not exactly sure it was the right move or not. We may consider, spinning back around and on our pro tour being more specific. But one of the big things that has changed recently in the sport of cornhole, and specifically within the ACO, kind of following, what the players wanted and what other, groups are out there doing, is we, for the longest time, had our players playing on specific boards with specific bags, specifically to say what you were saying, and that is to level the playing field. So everybody was playing with the exact same equipment. While everybody is still playing with the same boards at our big major tournaments and stuff like that, the bag aspect has changed a little bit, where we've opened the doors to allow other bag manufacturers into the picture. Now, the bags have to meet certain specifications, right? They have to be a certain weight, they have to be a certain size, they have to be made with certain fabrics and such, and they do have to be approved and sanctioned. But be that said, all bags are not necessarily created equal. So now one player's got XYZ bag, and the other player comes up with the ABC bag, and they're competing against each other. Well, they aren't, competing with the exact same equipment. While it's similar, it's not the exact same. And everybody has moved towards liking a bag that is very slick, is very forgiving. So it's made a lot of average cornhole players on the planet look really good, and they're not necessarily as good as they may think they are. The equipment is actually now making them look better. But I will also say a lot of players have gotten better as more players have entered the game. The level of competition has stepped up over the years as well, because more and more people are playing the game, and now more and more people are getting involved with the sport. But the equipment was a big change for us in terms of allowing players to come with their own bags now. It certainly has made it easier for us to set up the big tournaments and run the big tournaments, because we now no longer have to drag hundreds of sets of bags into a tournament to run the tournaments. But I do kind of miss the days of the players playing with the exact same bags that we had created and developed for them.
Speaking of the big tournaments, I know this year you have the World's 15 scheduled for July in Columbia, South Carolina. So what was it like when you first started? When you started developing the first World's tournament, which is I hate to use other sports analogies, but the Super Bowl of your sport. What was it like organizing that for the first time?
Well, it's kind of funny because, all the brackets were done on, paper boards that we had on easels. The actual first ACO World Championships King of Cornhole took place in northern Kentucky. It took place in the winter months, late December, early January. And that was one of the interesting things. That I think we had maybe 50 people in attendance at that first event. And it was exciting. It was fun. It was at the convention center, so right away it was tied to a bigger sports festival. So we weren't a standalone event. The World Championships was tied to the Winter Games here in Cincinnati that had, I think there was like 11 or 12 different sports associated to it. One of the things that did change over the years, we ran for the next, I believe it was 2, 3, 4 seasons, I believe, with our World Championships taking place in the month of January. And one of the plans and strategies with running in the month of January was the tie-in to football, because this game has a tailgating DNA. Everybody wants to drink an ice cold beer or a drink of some kind in one hand and a bag in the other hand. We know that. We don't run from that. And we felt like, tying it to the Super Bowl and in that time slot was, a pretty good tie-in. So we had visions of how we wanted to maybe do something in the future with the Super Bowl. However, I took a trip about 10, 11 years ago out to New York City, and I met with MTV, I met with Fox Sports, I met with ESPN out there, talking with them about the development of this new obscure sport that they really didn't have much clue to what it was, other than seeing it in tailgates at college football games and stuff like that. Well, they really were impressed with what we had done with the game, but they made 2 big suggestions to me at that time. One was they wanted me to take our players and decorate them cleaner looking, because at the time, a lot of our players were wearing cut-off, T-shirts and really kind of looking, sloppy, more like just your average backyard player, which is the way I dress most of the time. On the side, But these guys convinced me to look towards what NASCAR has done in cleaning up their players and having the branded logos and things on it, as well as like looking at bowling and other sports like that decorate their players in logoed gear. So that was one takeaway from my trip to New York, and another significant takeaway from my trip to New York was the fact that we had. Both Fox Sports and ESPN had said to me, look, you guys need to move your World Championships to the summer months, and particularly July, because there's not a lot going on in the month of July in the world of sports, other than the Nathan hot dog eating contest and the baseball All-Star break, right? So that was, and they said, well, cornhole is largely thought of as a summertime game, and that was one of the other things that we pushed with this whole game. Is originally people were used to just playing it outdoors and playing it as a summer type of game, and we pushed it to become even more of an indoor sport that could be a year-round activity for people. And playing indoors, gets you the chance to have these players compete and on a what I would call a more even or level playing field, where outside you've got the wind and the element of the sun and everything else at play. So that was that was kind of what we did, and they suggested that we move our World Championships to July, and it was like 4 months after having that meeting. I sat down with the team, and I think it was like February, and we had just got done running our World Championships, and we had decided that we liked the idea of running the World Championships in July. So now we had this predicament of, do we run a back-to-back World Championships? Since we just got done running one in January, do we run another one in July, 6 or 7 months apart, or do we wait 18 months and run it in July, 18 months away? And we had decided we did not want to wait that long for the World Championships, so we booked the World Championships that year to run in July. Actually happened to book it in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky at Turfway Park. And it was really a fortunate thing that we did that, because Kenny Mayne from ESPN reached out to me in the month of May because ESPN wanted to come out and do a show with us at our World Championships. So we invited Kenny Mayne and his show called Wider World of Sports, and they came out for 4 days, their crew, and filmed with us at Turfway Park at that World Championships. And that would have never worked out, had I not gone to New York, had I not decided to move the World Championships to July. So that was just kind of perfect timing.
Frank, in a video you guys posted to the American Cornhole YouTube channel, this was this interview in 2007, you had mentioned hopefully getting this on ESPN one day. When that Kenny Mayne segment aired, what were your feelings when you finally saw that? Did you think back to that 2007 interview and say, like, man, there it is?
Well, I absolutely did. I was pretty fired up about it and excited about the whole situation. And it really was step one. I mean, because our goal and our purpose is to get cornhole on TV in a consistent way with the ACO and the professional sport of cornhole. We were this close to making this whole deal happen with ESPN. Back in ESPN came in season 10 to Knoxville Convention Center with us. Actually, we had the game day ESPN vans or trucks come out. They set up their whole gig on center court and ran with us that weekend. And we were actually in negotiations to get them to buy into what we had been developing. And unfortunately, literally like 6 months after they came to the World Championships was when ESPN went through a bloodbath cuts, and it was at that time they'd cut like 500 employees in one fell swoop several years back, and all of our main contacts and everybody that we were working with, they kind of tabled the whole concept of the cornhole thing. And now they've circled back around, and they are doing some stuff related to cornhole these days.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
But unfortunately not with us. But we're not one that was looking to necessarily, buy our way on the TV, which is, what other groups have been able to do at this point in time. We are in negotiation with a couple different networks at this juncture, and we are looking to partner with them, and we are talking with some big sponsors and actually continue to look for other big sponsors to come into the mix. So there's some exciting stuff that we plan to do. And with that being said, we also decided to continue focusing on live streaming, because the whole landscape of TV and the whole landscape of just media has changed over the years. And so we were the first to come out with what's called the ACO Digital Network. We worked with a company called ViewLift, back in 2018 and launched the first ever dedicated digital network. You can find that on wearecornhole.com. Wearecornhole.com. It's got a lot of good shows. I'm just now trying to actually get uploaded to the network, Cornhole the movie. There is actually a movie, guys. It's a comedy, kind of like Dodge. But it's called Cornhole the Movie. But we're a real good documentary that's out on our digital network that you may want to have your listeners go check out is a thing called Brotherhood of Bags. Brotherhood of Bags was a real cool documentary put together from a gentleman out of Paul out of Nelson out of Chicago. Who kind of tailed around, and it's not just about American Cornhole. We are a part of the show, but it really is about, and it does give a good background on the history of the sport, and what it looked like, 10, 12 years ago. Is kind of interesting to check that whole show out. But yeah, so our plan is still, and we are fast forwarding to get to television. It's kind of nice, though. I got to tell you guys that for years the ACO has been the one that has led the charge in absolutely everything. And if you're the leader in anything, it's a very expensive endeavor. And it's nice to have other groups out there now helping to grow awareness to the game of cornhole. There's plenty of business out there for everybody. And it's nice to have other people, that are helping to grow, this and take this backyard game and help us elevate it to the level that to, which is the sports status.
How did you get in touch with Carson Palmer to do that first event with his charity organization?
A buddy of mine by the name of Tom Stalberg actually called me from his car, and I guess was listening to 700 WLW here in town, and said he heard that Carson was going to be getting rid of his golf outing and doing a cornhole tournament. And he said, "Dude, you need to get in touch with him." And that's what I did. I immediately got off the phone from there and got in touch with his agency that was repping him, and the rest was kind of history.
Okay. And I see this year's World Finals, COVID permitting, and I think we will be having those finals be held in Columbia, South Carolina. I know last year they were held in Vegas. Was there any reason for the move from Vegas to South Carolina?
Yeah, we've been back and forth on this, trying to figure out if we want to keep our World Championships like in one location or move it around. And I think we keep gravitating back to the area that we kind of like the idea of moving it a little bit to give players from different parts of the country easier access to it. Vegas. Well, we've been in Vegas now 4 times. Early days we were there 3 times in a row, but then our East Coast players, where the majority of the players were at the time, and still the majority of the ACO and the talented, the best talent on the planet is still pretty much on the East Coast, even though the West Coast has proven it's starting to build up some very good players now that they've been around long enough. But no, we spread it out. I mean, Vegas was incredible. We ran the main event for the week was at Westgate, and then our championship day, which is Saturday and night, we held at the Topgolf Vegas. And we had our camera crew up from LA. We're just getting ready to launch a series that's going to take place, starting next weekend. We've got the co-ed division being highlighted, and then for the next 6 weeks, we'll be broadcasting it on our Facebook and YouTube channels. We're going to be doing a feature show on each of the different divisions at the World Championships, which is we've got a juniors division, a women's division, a seniors division, a world singles, a world doubles, and I already alluded to the co-ed division. And I tell you, the co-ed division is such an exciting division right now because it's only been around with us for about 2 years, was when we kicked it off. So this is the 3rd season for co-ed, and it is the fastest growing division we have. And I think a lot of these guys got tired of watching their girls play, or the girls got tired of watching the guys play, and it's really neat to see these people, husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, fathers, daughters, competing and playing in the co-ed division. Last year we had a team from Wisconsin, a father and a daughter, ended up making it to the championship match, battling against a woman from Virginia and a young guy who actually just plays in her league. So it's just the co-ed division has all sorts of couples, made up in it, and it's a lot of fun to see that division growing the way it's grown. But the World Championships in Columbia, South Carolina, we chose that because it is, number one, if you've never been to Columbia, South Carolina, it's a killer city. It's home to the Gamecocks, South Carolina, the university down there. So it's a college town. The convention center where we're at is right next to the main hotels that are the two corporate hotels for the event, the Hilton and the Hampton. And there's a lot of things to do, particularly a lot of bars and restaurants, and it's an easy, walkable, safe city. And that's what we look for our events too, is places that we can go into that the cornhole community kind of takes over that town for the week. And Columbia, South Carolina is absolutely going to be a blast, and there's no doubt that we're going to get this thing, well, I'm sure there's a little bit of a doubt, but there's no doubt that we just actually got off the phone with their marketing team and their group this past week, as we're very excited about starting to promote it heavily through some of the radio stations and the TV markets down there. So Columbia, South Carolina, here we come, that's for sure.
You mentioned Wisconsin, and as someone from Wisconsin, I have to ask, having been to Packer games and seeing the amount of cornhole played just in the parking lot, are you looking to ever have these the World's Finals at, say, a football stadium, or possibly even NASCAR track, bring it to one of these big events, especially like I'm thinking Lambeau Field in July would be beautiful for it?
Well, oddly enough, the World Championships right now we play indoors, and we have looked at Wisconsin for possibly doing some major events up there. The World Championships, the one thing that we have to look for the World Championships is not just a great venue, but also a venue that is easily accessible for our players, because we do have international players that come out and compete. We've had Australians coming out to compete now. We've had Canadians come out. Last year we had a group of Germans come out. This year I think we have some people from the Netherlands that are coming out along with the Germans coming out. Some places that we look, Vegas is a perfect place for it, because it's such an easy place for people to travel into. We've also looked at Orlando as being a real nice destination for it. Lambeau Field is not as easy a place to get to for players from all over the country, but Lambeau Field is, in that area with the stuff that they have going on, is certainly a destination that we're considering for one of our big major events. And major events are, we've got 3 of them left, hopefully, that can pull off this year. We've got one in Branson, Missouri. I don't know if you've ever been to Branson or heard of Branson, but that's a real cool community. We've got one down in Lake County, Florida, the end of May. That's another big one that we're excited about. In these major events that the purses generally range between like $2,500 to $5,000. We have one event that's up in Minnesota that has a $10,000 and a $22,000 purse event annually for us on part of the tour. But most of the tour stops are anywhere between again $2,500 to $5,000. But the majors are the things that allow us to sprinkle really good competitive tournaments across the country that give players great experiences. We've been, this year, some of the city stops that we've been to Everett, Washington. We were in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Plaza with a big event. We've been in cities like Owensboro, Kentucky. You may not think about Owensboro or ever even heard of Owensboro, Kentucky, but it's a great little river community. The convention center is absolutely gorgeous. It's got these Super 2 hotels right next to it, and then you walking distance, all the restaurants and bars downtown. So like I said, with Columbia, South Carolina, and Owensboro actually has been like home to the World Championships, as well as cities like Knoxville, Tennessee, and those cities are better for us versus a Wisconsin type of city, because again, Tennessee is a great state for us because it was centralized to the U.S. and where the majority of the cornhole players are in the population. So again, a lot of our players will be driving to the World Championships, and maybe they're going to drive 8 to 12 hours. Not so much flying in. So we try to spread it, and that's why we go back and forth between the West Coast and the East Coast too. Is try to show love to our West Coast players as well.
Okay, now I do have to ask. I know you're top of the ACO. You founded the American Cornhole Organization. Do you still play, and how do you do when you do play?
I do play. I've pretty much always played. I've loved it. I've never been great, but I have my moments where I can be very good. And sometimes, and usually when I'm very good is when I'm most relaxed and I don't have, necessarily anything on the line. And what I mean by on the line is, running these tournaments is my focus, making sure that the players that come have the best experience they can have while being with us, because that's what they're paying their $40 to jump into our tournaments and be a part of, and they're giving us their good money and their good time to come travel. My responsibility is to make sure that they have a good time. Now, that being said, I love to get out there and rub shoulders with the players and try to compete with the players, and show me up on a Thursday night with a couple beers in the parking lot. I'll do well.
I'll tell you.
I can hang with them. What's that?
Go ahead and finish. You're good.
I was just going to say, I can hang with anybody on a Thursday night when I'm relaxed and have nothing but a beer in my hand and some good music in the background.
Ain't nothing wrong with a good beer, I'll tell you. And me, myself, as an athlete, it sucks because I get to have my beers very few and far in between. But it's all good. A good beer is always a good thing, I'll tell you. But, okay, so I got to ask this. I've been listening this entire time, and I have been intrigued. Like, you sell this without selling it. I love it. Like, I wouldn't even call it that, but like you just give off this radiant, like, okay, this seems really fun. I want to get involved. So, hypothetically, Mr. Frank, we have ourselves quite the team here. As a matter of fact, thank you so much for saying that you want to show up to the West Coast because, well, that's where I'm at. SoCal all day, man. So, as a matter of fact, it's kind of funny. We're all over the place. IE Sports Radio, we're a pretty big group right now. There's actually over 30 of us right now across the country, and I'm in Southern California. You got Darryl up over there in the DMV area, and you got Jonathan over in North Carolina, so we're all over the place. But let's just say, okay, hypothetically, let's just say Darryl, Jonathan, and myself, or a team of us within IE Sports Radio, or, oh, hell with it, maybe all 30 of us, want to get involved and assemble a team one day to have some fun in your organization. How would somebody go about doing that?
First thing is go to our website, and you can look at the list of tournaments. So next season, our tour starts in September and runs through May. So anybody is welcome to show up to any of those tournaments as a first-time player. They can get. We have what we call a free membership for a first-time player, and that just gives you the chance not to have to waste your $30. This year membership is like $35. Next year it might be $40 or $45. I'm not sure, but normally if you're playing for points on our tour, you do have to be a card-carrying member. But we have a program where players can come test the ACO first, and they do not have to pay for that membership, but they do have to pay for their ticket to compete in that tournament. And we do that basically as saying, hey, we think that once you come and experience playing with us, you're going to want to play again, and you're going to be a part of the league, try to earn points, and maybe show up at some of the bigger events. So that's how you would get started. And we've got plenty of events out there on the West Coast for sure, Larry, that you could be a part of. I mean, we're hoping we just had to cancel one because of the COVID that was taking place in Mesquite, Nevada, at a place called Rising Star Sports Complex. And that place was awesome last year. We had a $4,000 purse tied to it, but they have a real nice facility and campus and such. But no, we'll have 4 or 5 events out on the West Coast next year easily, maybe more, that you can attend any one of those. And I'll tell you, I mean, I'll put you guys in, if you want to, send your best players, out there, I'll put you into the tournament for nothing, man. If you want to just come out and experience it once so you can tell your listeners how cool it is. But I suggest you guys get your butts to the World Championships. Now, you can't qualify for the World Championships now because you haven't been playing long enough to earn enough points to qualify. But at the World Championships, we do have a thing called the Tailgater Championships that takes place on the second floor at the Convention Center that is open to any cornhole players. And it's a very cheap entry. I believe it's only $20 a team to get into. And we've got 8 different tailgate championships that will be going on during the course of the week, starting on that Tuesday, July 21st. And I believe the schedule is like one takes place at noon, and then we've got another tournament at 4, both Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we're going to take the winners of each of those 8 different tournaments, and they will compete on Saturday in the championship Elite 8 of the tailgate division. So that's the division that any of you could bring your full team of 30 out and party with us for that week in Columbia is what I really think you should think about doing.
That would be a blast. I'll tell you, that's definitely something to consider and hopefully do. That is super cool. And I love how, I'm telling you, I love your enthusiasm, I love your energy, and I love the fact that you're bringing, the best part about this is the fact that you have something for everybody. It's kind of funny. Like you guys sound like us. Like we want that with our show. Something for everybody, and you guys don't leave anybody out. Look at that. You have a championship going on, but same with that time. If somebody gets inspired that day to want to do it because they see the championship going on, maybe they can't compete in the higher tier, but they can go compete in the open tier, which is really, really neat. I think that is such a cool thing. So we actually got a question for you in the chat room from the host of our volleyball show, as a matter of fact, Set Point, Mr. Turner Rodriguez. And he is one of the heads of our PR department. And he has a question for you. He says here, what have been some of your notable moments when it comes to cornhole? Also, did someone help you out when it came to starting cornhole? So I think you've kind of already gotten that last bit of it. If you want to go ahead and reiterate a little bit of that, that's fine. But for sure, the first one, some notable moments maybe throughout your organization.
Well, I mean, let me backpedal. There were a lot of people that have been involved in, this company over the years. Some have poured their heart and soul into it, like I've poured my heart and soul into it. So there were partners in the beginning that, went different directions because they didn't, have the same vision that I had moving forward, or had to take care of their bigger businesses that were, paying the bills at the time. There were other partners that came midstream that, same thing. It was, growing a sport was expensive and risky, and, it just wasn't, putting enough, food on the table for everybody to be a part of. So, but all those people have, again, the list is long of the people that have either come and gone, and what they did for the company and me was tremendous stuff. And now there's people that have been with us for 10, 13 years now that have stayed committed to us. And then there's new people that have jumped on board to be part of this vision and this push as we move forward. We've got a new show that we're launching called Whole Nation with a guy by the name of Rich Pyle. Rich Pyle was on Hardcore Pawn, which was a show on TV that was kind of a cool thing. But anyway, so what was the other part of the question, though? But my point to that is there's so many people, like, I can't even begin to list them. But there's a guy by the name of Michael Finn Walter who has been with us for a while. He's an old DJ guy that's doing some tremendous stuff. Eric Heinerman is my right hand man that's been with me for a decade. I've got commissioners across the country, 11 different divisions, and people like Ryan LaBelle and Kat Kennedy and Scott Melby and Troy Hauser and William Howe and Eric Hubbard and Brian Jones, and I'm sure I've missed one or two of them already in that mix as I was rambling off. But there's just so many people that have been dedicated to this organization. Things have gotten so busy anymore lately. I've even got a volunteer PA. We're not, I've never had a PA in my life, really, and this young lady, one of our certified officials, Tina Candler, has really been a tremendous help and assistant on the side. And I've got a guy who works for us out of North Carolina who's C.S. Alexander, does all of our digital networking stuff. So, again, the list of people that I can... So this is not a one-man show. It's never been a one-man show. While I'm the man in the front and a lot of the visionary and the person that has pulled it all together and kind of kept it all together, the glue that's kept it together, it's not a one-man show. There's plenty of women and men involved with helping to push this vision. Some of the big key moments, it was actually pretty cool. I mean, I'm not a guy that's all gooey about seeing celebrities and stuff like that. One I can't even think of the guy's name. He was married to Jessica Simpson. Nick, what was that guy's name? What's his name? Nick, somebody singer?
Yeah, he was in a boy band.
Who am I talking about?
He was in a boy band. Oh my God.
Yeah, he was in a boy band.
I remember.
Well, dude, I gotta tell you, this was actually a funny story. If you got a second, I'll tell it real quick.
Yeah.
What is his name though? Jessica Simpson was his wife, and Nick, and he had a brother. But anyway, so Nick, we're just gonna go by Nick. Actually, he's on my back refrigerator over there. Still got the picture. So a couple of my partners said that, hey, this Nick guy is going to be doing some kind of celebrity thing the ATPs is a tennis tournament that stops here in Cincinnati, and so there was this big tennis tournament, and Nick was going to be up there doing an autograph signing. Nick Lachey.
There you go.
So Nick is doing this autograph signing, and it was like $500 to buy a plate or something at this thing to go get an autograph by Nick and rub shoulders with people. And a couple of the partners or whatever convinced me to go up there. They're like, oh, this is a great opportunity. Nick is a Cincinnati native. He loves cornhole. I think he's starting a restaurant in town or some craziness like that. So I ended up running up to this tennis tournament by myself. Had bought this $500 ticket to go in there. I told my wife what I was going up to do. I get in there, and it's like everybody there that was like 14-year-old girls, and then this guy who's like a 35-year-old dude that's standing in line to meet Nick Lachey.
This is great.
I gave him my cornhole hat. I gave him a cornhole T-shirt. I was like, oh, dude, I really want to talk to you sometime, and got a picture with him. But that was actually a pretty funny moment for me. I mean, just kind of goof. I don't get embarrassed too much, but I was slightly embarrassed, being one of these. I felt like a perverted old man there, man. I got to be honest. But Carson Palmer was really cool. We had a Dale Jarrett, the race car driver. We were looking at a track to do an event up in the Chicago market, and he has that driving school, and he was there as part of this trade show that I was part of, and that was kind of a cool experience because I got to meet him, hear him talk a little bit, and then I was able to get in the car with him, and he drove me around the track a few times, and that was a pretty cool experience. So some things like that have been awesome. But I got to be honest. I mean, one of the coolest things for me is just all the people around the country that I've met and become friends with, and had the chance to kick back a beer and throw a bag with, and just bull poop with, really. So I like people, and I enjoy this game because it gives me a chance to meet a lot of people.
Oh my gosh, this is just crazy because, look, I mean, I seriously feel like I'm sitting here, I had no intentions of even talking about IA Sports Radio today. Our 6-year anniversary is coming up on the 15th of May, and usually that's when I give let's sit down and talk about what we've done in the last, however many years we've been around. But it's crazy because I literally feel like the same exact way. What we've created here with our podcast network, I've had, okay, the next part would actually be visiting, like how you've done, like actually been able to travel. I've had the opportunity to meet all kinds of great people around the entire USA, including the people, actually around the world, including people like, the two that we have on today, Darryl and Jonathan. And it's crazy because that's how I feel too, like, because of this one thing here we happen to all have in common, all of us have been able to meet, and it's just incredible. So I feel like I share that with you very much because that is a really neat thing, and it is just a snowball effect, I feel, and it seems like you've been saying that same type of deal with all the great people that you've been able to meet through this one simple thing that you just happen to share a love for, like everybody else that does. So this is incredible. So with that said, we're pretty much out of time at the top of the hour. However, I do want to ask one more thing, and this thing right here, it's basically the plug. I mean, but I want to ask this plug a little bit differently. I have to do this. Number one, above all, make sure you throw in everything where all of our listeners can find you, where they can sign up and be a part of it, and all. I'm pretty sure if you've already said all of those things. However, let's go ahead and throw a last one out there where you can find your social media and all of that. However, though, I would like a little bit of a different approach to this. I would like for everybody to understand your game a little bit more, and if you can, just kind of tell everybody why they should even consider trying this out, or why they should even try to play the game on their own and get more into it because of what it has become. So I know that's kind of like a lot, but hey, I'm pretty darn sure that you can, if anybody can tell somebody why they should be playing this game, Mr. Frank, I have no doubt in my mind that it is you, sir. So with that said, let us know what's going on, man.
Well, I mean, it's as simple as saying, if you like tailgating, you gotta like cornhole. If you like to listen to music, hang out with people, and do something competitive, while it's not a super physical game, it is a physical, game. So, and if you like to do something, so many people come into cornhole after they've got done with their careers in other sports that they can no longer, do. Competitive softball players and, horseshoe pitchers and, football players and stuff like that. So if you're any kind of a competitive sports person, cornhole is definitely a lifetime game. It is crazy. Our best female player on the planet right now, she's in her 70s. She is a wonderful woman, and she's an amazing cornhole player. She's ranked number 5 in doubles right now. And she's proud to tell people how old she is. So the great thing about this game is whether you're 8 or 80, whether you're black or white, male or female, anybody can play it, and not everybody is going to like it. But anybody can play it, and if you have a competitive bone in your body at all, you're going to love this game. So that's what I got. And if you want to learn how to do more and play more cornhole and watch cornhole, check us out at our digital network, wearecornhole.com. If you want more information from me personally, feel free to email me at play, at americancornhole.com, or just go spend some time on our website at americancornhole.com, and that's www.americancornhole.com. We're getting ready to launch a brand new board in the next week or two, so stay tuned on that. But that should about do it. And keep on pitching.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, I'll tell you what, that was fun. We've had some great interviews in the last couple of weeks, but I'll tell you, and every one of those interviews, I loved every bit of them all in different ways, but this one, I just got to tell you, it was awesome because not only did I get to interview somebody that is really enthusiastic about what they do and what they love, but I literally learned an entirely new game. Not like all of it, like entirely, but I learned of something today that I had to open mine to, and now I can tell you right now I'm a fan of. This is awesome. So, with that said, once again, ladies and gentlemen, where's my applause button? Mr. Frank Geers. I mean, this has been awesome. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here today on The Defining Moment here on IE Sports Radio. We appreciate your time, and we'd love to have you back on very, very, very soon. And we are definitely open about the World Championships coming up here. Really excited to see where your organization is headed. And, hey, we are definitely always looking to promote and show you guys as much love as we possibly can.
Appreciate it, Larry.
All right, take care, Mr. Frank. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, y'all. Well, once again, that was Mr. Frank Geers. Incredible stuff there. We're going to take ourselves one more short break. When we get back, we're going to close this baby out and get you ready because, well, we have about an hour until Caitlin jumps on, and I think when everybody gets to understand, when Caitlin jumps on the airwaves, it's just an entirely different animal. You are listening to The Defining Moment right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
From the home plate to the nets, the end zone to the finish line, here nothing is off limits and no sport is safe. Not what it seems with your host Caitlin Seam, bringing you sports like you've never heard before. Catch me Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on IE Sports Radio. The only question is, are you ready?
Welcome to the Soccer Scoreboard Show with your host, Gabriel Montoya. This is the show for soccer, football fans, or whatever you call the beautiful game. Every week, I tackle the latest and greatest news from around the soccer world. From the English Premier League, to the World Cup, to MLS, Liga MX, and more. You can listen to the Soccer Scoreboard Show and our lineup of fantastic guests every Friday at noon here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Well. It has been a fun one here today, I'll tell you. We learned something today. And it was so much different than what I have ever even thought. Gentlemen, I'm officially a fan of the ACO, and I hope you are too, because this seems really cool. I'm excited for it, and I want more. That's all there is to it. With that said, that's going to do it for today's show, y'all. And you know what that means. It's time to bring it on home. With that said, we have a stacked lineup going on today, as you already heard, y'all. Check everybody out. Caitlin Seam coming up at the top of the hour. A double dose Caitlin Seam with Mr. Darryl Kinsey Jr. coming on. I'll let him tell you all about that momentarily. That's coming up today, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, we got some baseball. Oh yeah, and it's going to be live. Live stream. Oh yeah, StreamYard, YouTube, IE Sports Radio. Go get on it now. Go check it out. Go subscribe now, because you don't want to miss it. It's going to be some good stuff with Brandon Buckingham and Mr. Blake, H-Town Blake Henley, coming on up tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern. With that said, gentlemen, how should I say this? Gentlemen, take us on home. Let's go ahead and start off with Jonathan. Let's do this thing, man.
Hey, if anybody wants to come on, just find me anywhere on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Look up Couch Crew Chief. You're gonna find me. Let's have some great interviews, just like with Frank. Let's get on. Let's talk sports. Just because it's stalled out doesn't mean it has to stop.
And you want to continue to listen to IE Sports Radio all afternoon. Tonight at 8 o'clock on the Extra Mile, we will have Blake Reynolds of Team Dillon Esports. We're going to talk about that wild virtual race at Richmond Raceway on Tuesday. And we're also going to have a frank and important conversation on race and racing with special guest Bill Lester, who'll be joining us for that conversation. You do not want to miss it. 8 o'clock tonight, IE Sports Radio, The Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Absolutely, y'all. It's going to be a show. It's going to be a party. I hope you brought your cups. Well, we're not serving alcohol, I'm just saying. But maybe you can get some water. We got some Aquafina, I think, somewhere around here. But it's going to be a whole bunch of fun, y'all. Trust me, it's going to be a lot of fun. You got a whole bunch coming your way. And as I mentioned, as Darryl just mentioned, tonight's show on the Extra Mile is going to be all kinds of fun. As you just heard, Mr. Couch Crew Chief himself booking y'all. You want to jump on the show? Hey, let us know. We'll book you. We want to talk to you. We want all of y'all. Because as Mr. John Felipe said of 3 and Out, IE Sports Radio, we are by the fans, for the fans. So we love the big names. We definitely love great people like Mr. Frank Geers and all of the awesome guests that we've had on in the last couple of weeks. But we definitely want to make room for you guys too. So let us know, y'all. Jump on, talk some sports. That's what it's all about, guys. Well, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, I'll close this one out. It's been a fun one. Once again, big shout out to the CEO, if you will, the commissioner, the man in charge, the founder of the American Cornhole Organization, Mr. Frank Geers. For my guests, well, they're not guests, for my colleagues and the guys who make this whole thing work, Mr. Darryl Kinsey Jr., the Chief Organizational Officer, and our head of production, of course, head of marketing, that is, and our booking agent, Mr. Jonathan Couch Crew Chief. This is me, your boy Larry B, signing off. We're going to see you next week when we talk to Miss Sarah Moldenauer, NHRA Dragster Driver. I cannot wait for that one. Got plenty coming up here, y'all. Stay tuned. Plenty more great shows to come. Right here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.